Warning, warning, this is a spoiler warning. If you haven't played the DLC yet, please play the DLC first. That is necessary to understand the story and possibly more that you might need to get caught up on first. And it's a pretty good one, so please play DLC first before watching this video. If you had, great. Now let's enjoy the video and start it. This is a new voiceover thing for me anyways, so yeah, let's start it. Hello everyone, this is Manga Place here, and today is the day that I finally get to tell you all the story and review the DLC of Scarlet and Violet. The first part, called the Teal Mask. Now, about this DLC, it's a very good one. I wrote down my 2 days of playing and beating it. You can hear the paper most likely, but yeah, it's a pretty good story and a pretty good thing. But let's start at the beginning. Where the DLC begins. I'm not going to tell you my team yet. I'm going to say that for later, but maybe I can spoil a couple team members from here and there. So yeah, let's start at the beginning. First, you get a call from Jock saying, "Hey, the field trip time is here, and well, guess what? You're a lucky winner, even though you just showed up and you stopped a time traveling madman or woman, depending on which game you're playing. Basically, you're a lucky gamble." And then, well, I needed a starter for this. I wanted a fresh start. I didn't want to use my old team that I used. And for the second DLC, I'm planning on using a different Pokemon, ones I cut from the team. So, yeah. So I decided to use my shiny Houndstone that I caught randomly and named it Hillhound. Basically, Hellhound, but it looks like a gravestone on a hill, so Hillhound makes sense. It was. I thought the DLC would be a bit weaker than what I was expecting, so I only had it at level 50. But I talked to Briar, this woman on screen, and there's a lot of interesting stuff she says, how Paldea is rich in resources for Terra orbs to be common among students, possibly, and that Blueberry Academy is in Unifa, which means a lot of things for the future in the next DLC. And Kitakami and Paldea also share the Terrestrial phenomenon, which is pretty weird and also pretty interesting. We'll discuss that later down the line. She's heavily interested in Great Clara Paldea due to the fact that she's Heath's descendant. Her ancestor is Heath, who wrote the Violet book, which also she has the first manuscript of. Let's take a pause for a second. And for some reason, when I'm talking, sometimes I just shake. Dear gosh, it's exciting or it's something else. And she is interested in Jock as a nice guy. Possibly, ship material for you people out there. But yeah, she is a very interesting character in the story. It wouldn't surprise me if next DLC she plays a significant role into Terapagos and how that stuff works. But dang, I did not expect this DLC to go so deep and hit as hard. The first DLC for Sword and Shield was the Isle of Armor, which was a pretty good DLC. This one, it just has a better story. That's basically it. Better story, better characters. Didn't really like Claire or Avery, but let's not jump into Sword and Shield. Let's focus on Scarlet and Violet. So immediately, the Pokemon around me in the starting zone where you get off the plane and one of our classmates is feeling sick is, above my level 50 Hellhound, surprisingly, level 57, 53, 54s. And then we battle Carmine, who doesn't like outsiders for some reason. Again, we'll get into that a bit. But you meet her and her brother Kieran, which she wants to fight you because, like I said, she doesn't like outsiders in her town. She grew up here along with Kieran, their brother and sister, to live with their grandpa. Yeah, that's supposed to be something I announced later, but I might as well announce it now. But she has level 60s, which I was shocked to see, which is Poochyena, Poltergeist, and Vulpix. Then afterwards, we go to bed. Then the next day, we get our announcement of, well, let's do a wonderful idea of, let's just set you all up on the world. Kitakami has a self-tourism type of deal, where you have to take pictures of 3 signboards, and yeah, apparently Carmine and Kieran don't have the best relationship, she like taunts Kieran about like not being able to speak to people and stuff like that. And then we fight Kieran. He has level 59 Sentret and a level 60 Yanma, which makes me feel really bad for the kid since at this point I already evolved my Yanma, which I caught. I forgot to say that I caught Yanma, named it Megana, Megana. So Megan, but with an extra A, and evolved it after fighting Carmine because I was freaked out over the fact that they were level 60s. So yeah, that kind of creeped me out for a lot. Like, dear gosh, like early on in DLC, I looked this up. Like the highest level Pokemon you fight here in like the early game version of this story is like level 30s, like 35, 36. But yeah, then we get dang, like, whew, and I'm down level 60s. But anyways, I go and catch an apple on Apple Hills, which is for obvious reasons since Diplin was the winner of our little our little poll. Thank you. Well, let me double check who commented the name Queen Froppy. Thank you so much for the name. Wow, Zana is why I ended up naming it, and it's just Spanish for apple, but without the man. But Zana sounds is a female. It's a female apple. I did get into a Diplin very easily. You just go to a specific part of the map where there's no shopkeeper. You spend $500 on a syrupy apple. Pretty easy. And we learned some lore about Ogerpon after getting to the first signboard at Loyalty Plaza, where also, fun fact, the Loyal 3 are buried, apparently. Or their ashes or remains or something are just underneath the thing. Who knows? But, anyways, we spent some time with Kieran, we take a picture, and Koraidon or Miraidon, depending on your game, gets triggered, or this like comes out when he ever hears the word sandwich in front of Kieran, he's freaking out, saying it's a kaiju. And I find that funny because I'm a Godzilla fan, and I like the idea of like some random kid we just met says the word kaiju, and like we're not in Sword and Shield where kaiju are more plausible, but okay. And we learned some more about Ogerpon on during this, like how I forgot what it says on the signboard, but basically it's saying the Loyal 3, like laid their lives to protect the people from Ogerpon and its rage. And Kieran finds Ogerpon to be really cool, like a really cool, ogre. Like he likes how powerful it is that he beat 3 poison legendaries, which was pretty obvious. They have the ability Toxic Chain. But it beat 3 against 1, and it had only 1. Never mind, I just near spoilers. And it was 1 versus 3. Like basically, that's it. That's what he finds cool. Well, and then we find Jock behind a tree, gives us an egg. It tells us to complete the Pokedex. We get a Chimchar, which I quickly just evolved into Monferno and boxed it, since I end up catching a Mienfoo named Ming, Meing. At the Chilling Waterhead, which is a cave inside Oni Mountain. And Then we fight Kieran again, and before we go into Ogerpon's home at Dreaded Den, which is on Oni Mountain, Oni's Mall, or Infernal Pass, depending which one it is. Like, it's on Oni Mountain, but the path we get to it's between Infernal Pass and Oni's Mall, which is just the opening in the mountain that looks like a mouth. Then he's gotten stronger, has a level 62 Furret in Yanma, and level 66 Poliwhirl, which will become a real threat later on, let me tell you that. Then we go to Kieran's house, speak to his grandpa that they live with. And we're getting ready for a festival. Excuse me. And, there's only 2 masks in the shed, so I don't get a mask, but Carmine not only proceeds to ask me to fight, not only does he get the evolution of Poltergeist Sinistra, but also has the high ground. You know that Star Wars thing where like Obi-Wan has the high ground over Anakin in the final moments? Yeah, she did that and I won somehow. Like, whoever has the high ground always wins. Not true for this situation. And well, after losing, Kieran offers his mask to us, and she says no, it's his favorite and stuff. So I'm fine. I didn't know later down the line I ended up buying a mask anyways. It is like after the DLC already ended. I was like, oh, this is where people got their masks. Cool. Anyways, the festival starts with Ogrepon walking down and to enjoy the festival with us, which is kind of fun. Carmine makes fun of Kieran again, and who is innocent enough to give me a candy apple. He's a very good character. And then we did Ogre Outsting, which is a mini game where you pop a bunch of balloons, scare away a hungry Pokemon, try to get the berries that were in the balloons you popped, and basically you just need to do it within a set time limit of like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Yeah, 2 minutes. And we mistake Ogrepon for a child in a mask before it runs up the stair, before it runs away from me and Carmen and jumps upstairs towards its home. And the teal mask fell off it. Look, I said it. And yeah, it's kind of sad. Like once you see Ogrepon's face, you're like, this is the ogre. It's the most adorable Pokemon in the world. Like, what? How is this the face of a villain? And we keep the mask and spit chip, so we end up having to patch it up later. But Carmine does not want Kieran to know that we met it because she feels bad that we saw it and not with him. Also, I forgot we go to the second signboard earlier on before the festival starts after meeting Jock, and it was at Kitakami Hall where the festival takes place. And he really likes to be, and Kieran really likes to be cool, like the Ogrepon, at the second signpost. Anyways, I managed to find the syrupy apple, evolve Applin to Diplin, and then we show their grandpa, I'll put him on screen, the mask, and explains the true backstory behind the loyal three who, at this point, they're not even loyal, they're greedy Pokemon who just stole Ogrepon's other masks. And they're just really hateable character Pokemon on in a story sense of they come to Kitakami to steal the mask because they're like have gems all over them and they're really valuable. And Ogrepon ends up being them with its cudgel, which is basically a mace, but since it's called such move is called Ivy Cudgel. Well, it has like thorns on it. So like, you all got beaten by, spoiler alert, the mono grass type legendary Pokemon when you're poison types, which is kind of like, yeah, that explains Ogrepon's power or a lot. But in the end, we end up listening to the true backstory that Grandpa explains to us, and Kieran listened to it while we were discussing it, like how we met the ogre and Ogrepon's true backstory. And before we go to the final signboard, or in Paradise Barons. In the Paradise Barons, we end up catching a Nosepass, and we evolve into Probopass because I really wanted to use one. And Ming also evolves during that moment. So yeah, we battle Kieran again. He has the strongest Pokemon level 67 Diplin. He has a Yama for level 64 with level 66 Poliwrath. Dear gosh, Kieran, I feel bad because like during this moment he feels betrayed a little. Like you can tell because he would say sorry to him. He's like, for what? And it's just, dear gosh. So we need to end up fixing the mask by going to the top of Oni Mountain, which lies the Crystal Pool, which is a very beautiful area where there's Terra Crystals in the water that we don't know how they showed up there. And apparently you can see the people of the past. That's like people who died or deceased. Spoiler. Okay, yeah. Saying revolving around that term is kind of weird. And we end up fighting a Milotic level 73, and it drops the crystal cluster that we need to fix the mask. And again, we ended up going back to Briar's. Briar actually ends up showing up and explains how they have the same. The crystal pool has the same wavelength as terrestrial energy, and how she wants to bring terrestrialization to other regions. So I assume that's why Terra Pokemon are going to be in Blueberry Academy, which is far away in Unova. So that was for our research and how that all works. So we end up going to attempt to fix the Teal Mask after that entire thing that I just explained. And we go back to Grandpa. Kira ran off the mask, and we end up confronting him at the Loyal 3's like grave. Basically, and he has a mental breakdown practically saying we're liars, we betrayed him, he's an outcast. And we end up fighting him again. His strongest is a level 71 Polyrath. He has a Cramorant level 65, which, fun fact, is somehow a version exclusive. Anyways, a level 65 Cramorant, a level 68 Yanmega, a level 66 Gligar, and a level 69 Dipplin.
Nice.
Nice indeed. We retreat to the mask, and a bunch of shaking happens. The level 3 are released, and they go take the mask from Katie County Hall. Well, from the caretaker that also we stay at a community center in Masui Town, which is their hometown. He also takes care of the mask at Keikami Hall. He ends up feeding them mochi, which could possibly have Urban Mystica in it, because we end up fighting the Loyal 3, which are level 70, when you first fight them bowling on Ogerpon, back at its home, which, dear gosh, like, now Ogerpon's getting jumped by the 3, and then we beat Monkey Dory up, this guy with the big noggin on his head, and they end up running off after Carmine Threaten is very angry with them, clearly. We gave Ogerpon's Teal Mask, and it feels happier and stuff. And now me, Kieran, and Carmine have to retrieve the other 3 masks. The Wellspring, the Wellspring Mask, the Heart Flame Mask, and the Cornerstone Mask. Mask from the Royal 3 because they got buffed by the Mochi, which possibly has Urban Mystica on it. They get an additional 15 levels at level 85s, so by far one of the strongest opponents you face. And yeah, this goes extremely bad, which I don't have a 5th team member at this point, so temporarily usage of a Morpeko named Marnie from Sword and Shield, the emo-looking rival that is a lot of fans' favorite. Makes sense. And so named after someone who used it. But we battle the Loyal 3 in these Titanic versions that I'll pop on screen. And yeah, they're big. They get a boost in one of their stats. I'm pretty sure Okidoki gets defense. Special defense goes to Monkey Dory, and like speed or something goes to Pheasantipity. And yeah, it's a Morphego's a temporary team member. But once all that's done, Kieran actually spreads the truth about Ogerpon, and we end up, making Ogerpon have a good name and stuff. And the villagers apologize to Ogerpon in Masui Town, and I find that good. Afterwards, we end up going back to Ogerpon's place, and since we have to leave, Ogerpon likes us apparently, and wants to be on our team, but Kieran doesn't like that, has another mental breakdown, and you're not having to fight Kieran for Ogerpon, which I'll protect my life. I originally was going to name Ogerpon after Kieran after figuring out that, spoiler alert, its gender is always female, while the Royal 3 are all male, which I find to be just messed up. Seriously. But anyways, we end up playing Kieran, who has a very competitive team, because he has a Shift Tree, which has a Focus Sash on, and Wind Rider, which is a new ability they gave it. So it's immune to Heat Wave, Hurricane, Gust. It can set up its own Tailwind and boost its attack stat, and it has Fake Out, so that's scary. At level 71, to be exact, at level 72, Poliwrath with Belly Drum and a Citrus Berry. A level 71 Probopass with Sturdy and a Payata Berry, which increases special attack when at low HP. While Yanmega, which if it's hit with a physical move, it gets a boosted defense. And his Dipplin has leftovers, and both Dipplin and Yanmega are level 72, with Probopass being level 71. I don't know how to talk so much, dang. Anyways, Gliscor is level 76 with a Yachi Berry, and that is terrifying. And now, before we catch Ogerpon, we have to do 4 back-to-back Terra battles against him, each of them using his mask, which, for Heartflame Mask, gets a new ability called Embody Aspect, which increases one of his stats depending on the mask. So, for the first mask you fight, the Heartflame Mask, it's Attack, The Wellspring Mask is Special Defense, which is the Water type one, which depending on its mask comes different types, so it comes Grass Fire, but with Terra, since it's Terrad, it's permanently Fire, then Water, then Rock, which is the Cornerstone Mask, then the Teal Mask, which is just stays Grass type. And it was level 70, and the main story at this point has been finished. But there's a couple other things they end up doing. Since after you defeat Ogerpon and catch it, you end up battling Carmine with it. She has level 70s to 74. Pretty standard. Her team's Mightyena, Leavanny, Sinistra, Ninetales, and Morpeko. We end up going to the community center, and the Taker gives us a Mochi set. Carmine ends up opening up saying that the reason why she doesn't like outsiders is because it's more like a tourist destination, tourist trap. For time became a tourist trap, and she didn't like it. But she ends up like befriending every single one of the classmates that we brought from Paldea, and she likes it. And Briar, Kieran, and Carmine end up going back to Blueberry Academy because their time's up and they have to get back going. End up going back. Yeah, this makes so much sense. This is so weird. Okay, they end up going back to Blueberry Academy because their time's up and they have to go home. But before going home, we get a cutscene with Kieran where he explains where he says he needs to get stronger and that we need to prepare for him in the next DLC. And he goes insane, crazy, power hungry type, and it's to be continued. And dang. But there is one other story that I want to talk about for one specific side quest, which is meeting Piran, which I didn't end up using this specific Pokemon later on, but I ended up replacing Morpeko, and dear gosh, it is powerful. So we end up meeting Piran, which was in Mastery Town the entire time, with her Hisui and Growlithe. Keep in mind, it's a Hisui and Growlithe, which is weird. We end up meeting Piran, and we have to help her photograph a specific Pokemon, and she is from Sinnoh, apparently. She has a Noctowl and a Leafeon, and we end up fighting her in the beginning. She's clearly Adamant's ancestor via having not only the same hair and eyes as him, but also says later down the line a phrase that time wasted is lost, which is what Adamant says in Legends Arceus. Later down the line, she ends up opening up about her recent failures as a photographer and how basically it's been rough for her. But the Pokemon she is looking for is a Blood Moon Beast and Ursaluna, which is level 70 when you fight it. And this is the Pokemon I end up replacing Morpeko for. Then we got Nightmare, because kind of looks like a Nightmare I'm trying for FNAF. And next month is spooky season, so you already know what's going to end up happening. And we take a couple pictures before fighting it of different Pokemon before we can pinpoint its location. And that's how we end up catching Blood Moon Ursaluna. She ends up going her separate ways after giving us another Hisui and Growlithe, which is pretty sick, honestly. And then there's a couple other side missions I recently watched other people do, like this rich couple just keeps going everywhere, gives you items, and in the end you just end up doing some random stuff. You battle her, this girl named Onair, and she basically just keeps giving you stuff to make you rich, and ends up giving you a glittery phone case and something else. I haven't completed the Pokedex yet since a couple of them are version exclusive. I'm waiting for my sibling to get the other DLC, the same DLC I have, to get me those version exclusive Pokemon in that DLC. I'd rank it pretty high, especially because Kieran starts off all innocent, nice, and then he becomes very determined to beat us. And I feel like it's just because we took Ogerpon from him. And I understand that. It wouldn't surprise me if you ended up fighting him for Terrapagus too. Or heck, we end up finding Briar for Terrapagus. Who knows? But let me know what you think of the DLC in the comments below. Please leave a like and subscribe and turn on notifications. And I'll see y'all next time, because the next time I post a video is probably going to make a video in recent time, because a lot of the series you're watching already, the Pokemon Infinite Future stuff, is pre-recorded, but October, you better vote for a very good horror game. I'm gonna be playing it, and the poll will be up in like next week on Wednesday. Anyways, peace out. Have a nice year, and yeah, I can't wait for part 2 when I have to review the Indigo Disc. Take care, and have an amazing, awesome, and fantastic day. See you next time.